we're talking about this game again. I haven't really covered it since the fiasco of Crime Fest, and to be fair, at the time I was quite angry, but we're not really here to delve in the past anymore. I'm done talking about Crime Fest. Oh wait, we are delving into the past. Back into 2012 to be more specific, when a lovely little DLC came out which is called the Wolf Pack. Of course, the Wolf Pack's just been re-released for Payday 2, and it's free for the people who own the original, so that's already a good thing. But does it hold up to today? Have they changed it to make it better? Have they seemed to do what Overkill seems to be doing a lot recently and screwing up? I don't know just yet. Let's have a look inside the DLC and see what we get for this measly price of $4.99. So, the Wolf Pack DLC contains the following: 4 masks, China Lake, oh wait, isn't it called something else? Oh, of course it is, it's called the China Puff. After that, we have 1 melee weapon. Gee, Overkill, that's a bit strange for you. Normally you do 4 pointless ones. Apparently you've done something to make this one different. Again, we'll have a look in a minute. And finally, you have 2 new heists, with 2 tracks to go with them, being, you guessed it, Counterfeit and Undercover, just like the original. Now, the whole point of this video is meant to be, is this DLC worth buying? Now, I could answer this immediately, but that would just be pointless, and then what's the point of watching this video? Instead, I'm going to drag it out for another couple of minutes just to make you sit here and wait. First off, let's have a look at the 4 masks. Now, let's be honest, the masks nowadays with Payday, either they're nice to look at or they're nice to customize. These ones feel more nice to look at. Besides that, they're just masks. You can wear them, you can earn an achievement to unlock them. There's nothing really much to say about it. Next up, we have the China Lake Puff. It's called Puff because I don't know. And this is the thing, I feel like this weapon makes the other 2 grenade launchers obsolete at this point. Let's have a look. We had the GL40 and the Piglet. The Piglet was a primary and it was way too slow. The GL40 was a primary and it only had 1 shot. The China Puff, however, it's a secondary. It's got the same damage and it shoots 2 more shots and it's quicker to reload. Why the hell would you use the other 2? Like, personally, I would rather just have that and a shotgun or LMG, just shoot a bunch of enemies and then blast them over through the rest. It's a good weapon, don't get me wrong, however it makes the other 2 feel more obsolete, unless you're running a pistol build. Besides that, I would have no other reason to choose them over the China Puff, which is a shame really, because you'd think as a secondary it would have less damage, or at least something to make it balance out with the other 2. So, for example, you're sacrificing something for something else. Talking about weapons, let's have a look at the melee weapons. Or should I say melee weapon? Because it seems Overkill this time have decided to take the 4 melee weapons they'd make before, brown them all together into this one little thing, which has apparently had more attention and love compared to the others. However, I can't really see this. I'm struggling to see what's so good about the Pounder. Yeah, it's got decent stats, it's a decent melee weapon, but what makes it stand out? Nothing. There's nothing to make it stand out. You've got stuff like the Claymore, the Katana, or the Buzzer, which, okay, the Claymore is basically just a terrible version of the Katana, but the Katana and the Buzzer have something special going for them. The Buzzer you can stun enemies, the Katana you can chop someone's head off. What does the Pounder have? Does it have nails coming out of it like a little entity effect? No! It's just bunk, you hit someone on the head, that's it. I really am struggling to see what's so special about this. Some people like it, which, fair enough, you can like it, I'm not moaning at you to not like it, but what's so special about it that made it the only melee weapon in this pack? Okay, fair enough, Overkill, you're running out of ideas. You could just admit that instead of saying, we put all 4 together to make this amazing thing for you, because it's not that amazing, I still use the Buzzer. Purely because compared to other melee weapons in the game, that one actually has something which makes it stand out. You could have made the nail gun either do one of the following, which would be piercing through shields with low damage, or just blinding the enemy when you hit them in the face, because it's a bloody nail gun. It would hurt. Now I could just stand here and keep talking about why the Pounder is so lackluster for another 20 minutes, but I'd rather go on and talk about the heist, because this is what the main part of the pack is. Now the first heist out of the 2 in the pack is Counterfeit, and personally I think this one is the better out of the 2. I feel like with this heist compared to Undercover, they've actually put more attention into it and changed how it works to suit more for Payday 2's system compared to Payday the Heist. And one of the first things I'd like to know about this heist is the stealth mechanic in it, because I actually like this one. You can't stealth the heist fully, which is something I've always wanted in Payday 2. You can really get so far into it and then it goes loud. Yeah, you could say Car Shop has done this already, however with Car Shop it's a bit, well, there's no cops to fight. With Counterfeit, you actually have, after a while you have to fight, because the C4 will go off and no one's going to ignore that. So it kind of makes you think of the idea when you're playing in a lobby with friends or public players, that 2 of you should be stealthers and then the other 2 should really armor up, because With this heist, you could be here for a while. And what I mean by that, well, they've turned this one into an endurance heist, which is really good because you can print off counterfeit money and just keep going until you get bored. However, keep in mind that printing in this game does take a while, and the power can go off as well with doesn't help, so it's a bit longer than something like White Xmas where you can just find loot around the map. However, it's more rewarding and it's a lot more fun because the map actually looks nice. However, something compared to Payday the Heist is whenever they turned the power off, normally it was a bulldozer who came out. Now it's just a random cop. Kind of disappointed by that because it was fun to then shit myself when I saw a bulldozer coming back around the corner to turn the power off yet again, or when you kill him and you can see him coming right from the other end of the map. Personally, out of the two in this map pack, I actually think this was the one that just had more attention to it, and I kind of like that. However, with Undercover, it kind of changes a little, and with Undercover, it just feels like a pure carbon copy and paste, which is fine, because Undercover's a good heist. However, compared to Counterfeit, it doesn't feel like it's had much attention and love into it. You've still got the little details of beating up the person with the codes, and it actually shows you the effect of when you're beating him up compared to Payday the Heist, which is interesting, but there's nothing that really stands out with this heist. I mean, the snipers are back and they're still painful as ever. You can board up the window still. You now get gassed. I mean, that's something, but it's just, there's not a lot to talk about in this heist if you've already played the original. Now, this could actually be down to the fact that Undercover was already a decent heist as it is, and it didn't really need any improvements. Or maybe, and now this is just a personal idea, but a week before the Counterfeit mod came out, which was made by the modding community, and maybe Overkill saw that and thought, shit, they could make more, so they had to kind of push it out a bit quicker, which, okay, in a company standards, that makes sense. You would want to do that just so you don't lose too much money. However, at the same time, maybe you could have added something more to Undercover, maybe somehow stealth it, or maybe you can watch the start further, and or maybe to make it a 2-day heist. I was saying this to Peyton the other day, and there's a way you could make it into a 2-day heist where you could keep him in the same building on the first day, get more money, and it'd be harder, but if you were to steal him for a second day, there's less cops, you make less money. But it'd be an interesting way to have a new scenario onto the heist. However, at the end of the day, I'm not Overkill, I'm not the map creator, so I don't really know what their ideas and intentions were for this. However, when I started this video, the whole idea was, is this worth the price? Is it worth buying for Payday 2? Honestly, the answer is no. And before you make a stupid comment, let me go into why. So the Wolfpack brings 2 new heists, well, 2 original heists from Payday the Heist and a new grenade launcher. But it's free if you get it for the Wolfpack for Payday the Heist. Now you see where I'm going with this. You could spend a little bit more to buy the base game of Payday, and also the Wolfpack DLC, which is probably really cheap on stuff like G2A nowadays. Save a bit of money and get much more content. And you also get to see the originals compared to the new versions, and it's, believe me, it's an interesting thing to do, because you can see where Overkill has changed things to suit the new game, how Overkill's idea of level design has changed from Payday the Heist to Payday 2, and also how ridiculously hard Payday the Heist is compared to Payday 2. Like seriously, hard stands for hard on Payday the Heist, it's actually kind of unfair, and Overkill 145+, I've never beaten a heist fully to this day, and I probably never will because I'm not that good at these kind of games anymore. Now, before I go, I just want to cover 2 other things I've seen recently with Payday instead of making 2 pointless videos on them because I'm really lazy. The first off being the Mega Masks. Now, it's a nice idea, and it's nice that we're starting to get some more stuff further completely Overkill back. However, not all of them look nice, but that's just personal gripes. There's not really much to talk about it because, well, they're masks. As I keep saying, masks do not change much in the game these days. And also, there was the safe that came out with this heist few days or a week after, which is the Wolf, I think it's the Wolf safe. Now, a lot of people have been saying to me, oh Ben, do you think they're just cashing again? Well, obviously they're going to have to keep doing it at this point because they made a mistake with this. I mean, skins aren't a bad thing. It's personally not a preference. The way they implemented it was poor and a really bad way to do things. But now they have to live with this. And a good way to explain this would be, have you ever injured yourself when you're a child or when you're an adult in a really stupid manner? Because I have. I actually caught my hand on the fence and felt it pierce into my hand, but I pulled myself up even though I knew I was in pain and ripped down my hand, and I've still got this scar on my hand to remind me that was a stupid thing to do. This is their scar. This is one of their many scars they've done. Another one being the completely Overkill back, which they're still trying to fix. Personally, nowadays, that's never going to be fixed. But you have to keep going even with these stupid mistakes. And it sounds really weird for me to say this, but I'm actually kind of glad Overkill kept it in the end, instead of just going, no, we're just going to pull back, because they would have got more backlash for it. They have to stick with what they're going for. And at the end of the day as well, it's kind of our faults as well, like myself, because the community thought we had too much power over the game, which in all fairness, I thought that myself. So in a way, it shows they still have control, which is a good thing. However, they've got to be careful with what they do next. And if these rumours I've been hearing about second hype train are true, oh boy, Overkill, you're going to be in for one hell of a shitstorm.